Should we start?
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming here today for our CDU IT Corporate Final Preparation Workshop 2023. So I decided to join the event this year. So this afternoon we'll have the first competition, is a research competition. Yeah. Yeah, we have a few people here. So hopefully you guys will do your projects well for this year. So first, I want to thank all the sponsors for sponsoring our events this year. Without the sponsors, we cannot launch these meaningful events for IT students to gather and showcase their talents. So thank you, sponsors, very much, and thank you all attendees today for coming. So before I start, on behalf of CDU IT Corporate team, we want to acknowledge all First Nation people across the lands on which we live and work, and we pay our respects to elders both past and present. And today's workshop's agenda is, first, we'll have Liz Henry, the manager from CDU's Careers Center. She'll talk about how to build your personal brand. And after that, we'll have tips sharing from Sai and Eden. They will share their stories and their success from the previous year because they are winners. They will share their stories and tips how to pitch your project effectively. After that, we'll have Q&A section with Dr. Cherry. And then we'll have a tea break. And then after that, when we come back, we'll have Damien Charles, the general manager at NEC, NEC, and he'll let us know, he'll share from employers' point of view, how employers look at recent IT related graduates, and you know what to prepare after graduation to get a job. And after that, we'll have Q&A as well for the in the end of this session. So first, now professionals must stand out and be recognized in today's fast-changing tech world. It's more than just showing what you can do, and it's about being unique in a busy job market. So we are lucky here today to have Henry Liz, the manager from CDU Career Center, to talk about this. And Liz has so much experience helping people in their careers. And let's give a big welcome to Liz.
To see you here early on a Monday morning. I've just knocked that over. Okay. So this is not really my preferred style of workshop, me standing up here delivering stuff to you, but we'll see how we go. So today we're going to talk about building your personal brand. It's not something that you can just whip up between now and Friday when you're going to be meeting employers. It is going to take you maybe a little bit longer. But we are going to talk about maybe some things that are unique about you that you can just little things here.
Sorry, this was just like 30 seconds.
You're famous now.
Yes, but we are going to talk about some things that maybe you have that are unique to you that you can use as start for your personal brand. Okay, I too would like to acknowledge the First Nations people on the land on which we're meeting today. Of course, here in Darwin, we're in beautiful Larrakia country. So if you're not in Darwin, just take a moment to think about where the lands that you are on today. So we're going to talk about what personal brand is and why it's important. It's all about you. And of course, we always talk about where to go to get more help. So firstly, everybody has a personal brand. In your personal life, you have a personal brand, whether you think about it or not. It's how people think about you when you leave the room. It's how people perceive you. It's what people think about you. And that happens naturally amongst your friends and your family. It's about your personality style. It's about the traits that you have, and it's about the values that you hold. So you already have a personal brand inside you. Now, you might want to use that for your professional life as well, but you might also want to add a few things to it. So how does your brand come across? When was the last time you Googled yourself? Have you all got your phones with you? That's a silly question. Everyone has a phone. Whip your phone out and Google yourself. What comes up? Now, if you have a LinkedIn profile, hopefully that's the first thing that people see. Can I just have a show of hands? Who has an active LinkedIn profile? Few of you, nearly all of you. Okay, great. If you haven't got one, it's a really good way to connect with people online. And you can certainly demonstrate your values online through connecting and making comments and posting information. So hopefully nobody saw anything nasty when they Googled themselves. It's just a reminder to just do it every now and then to see what pops up. If you've opened a new social media, you might not have got your new settings just right. So really you want everything locked up tight, except your LinkedIn. That should be the one that's open for everyone to see. And if you are going to use social media, you could consider having two profiles, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram, or TikTok or any of the others. A lot of companies are using social media to engage with potential talent and to advertise what sort of jobs they've got coming up and graduate programs, all those sorts of things. So if you want to follow them on Facebook, perhaps you have a second profile that you use for your professional work. You should also make sure you are following the CDU Careers Centre, because anything we hear about gets posted on our sites as well. We use LinkedIn and Facebook mostly. Okay, so personal branding in a professional setting is a deliberate effort to establish and promote your unique identity. It's about defining who you are and what you stand for and what you want to be known for. And that's a really important thing. What do you want to be known for? You need it because a strong personal brand sets you apart from the competition. You guys, however many of you are graduating this year, you're all sort of competing in the same pool. So what makes you a little bit different from all the others? How are you going to be remembered by an employer? How much networking have you done this year? How many times have you been out and met employers and talked to them about what you are currently doing and what you hope to do? So these are all little things that add up to making your personal brand something that stands out. Now, I'm not expecting you to have a Coca-Cola type brand where everybody knows you, but we certainly want you to have enough things about you and enough of your story that people will remember who you are. Now, that doesn't mean that you're just automatically being given jobs, because the job market doesn't work like that either. But you will find that you might be asked to apply for something, or you might be asked to come in for a chat just to see what potential there might be. And if you are asked to apply for something, it comes with sort of that reference from that person, and your application, when it hits their desk, is elevated because they remember who you are. So you're not just one of the rest of the group that have applied. So it helps you build trust and credibility with your audience. So your audience at this point in your career are the employers. They're the people that you need to get yourself in front of. So think of them as your audience. So if you're marketing yourself to them, what are you going to say about yourself? Your personal brand can lead to career opportunities, partnerships, and increased influence. Now, that increased influence isn't going to come maybe till later in your career, when you're someone like Damien Charles, who everybody listens to in the industry because he has such a great insights and wisdom. So that will come with time and hard work, but you will definitely, it will definitely lead to career opportunities. Not every job gets put on Seek or on the CDU careers board. So by making sure that you are getting in contact with the right people at the right time, that can help you find the job you're looking for. So it does require a bit of self-reflection. You have to think about yourself. Not easy to do, but you have to take some time to do that. Understand what your values are, what are your strengths and your unique qualities. Now, you all have a unique story. You've all come from different places. You've come from far across the seas to study at CDU. Tell that story. Talk to people about why you decided to come here. Why did you decide to come and study and then stay on and work? What sort of experience are you hoping to get? Is it something that you want to, stay in Australia and make inroads in cybersecurity or whatever? Or is it something that you want to get some experience here for a few years and take home to your home country? Imagine the differences that you could make if you did that. So whatever your story is, just make sure that you are telling it authentically, that you are talking to people with a personal voice. It's about what you want. And it's about the things that you value. Consider what you're passionate about. What is it that you want to do? We run an exercise in one of the other workshops where we try and talk about what is your why. Why did you decide to do that? Yeah. Why did you decide to study IT and maybe specialize in a particular area of IT? What is it that you're hoping to achieve? Who is it that you want to help? Who are the customers that you want to serve? Who are the people that you want to benefit from your particular work? Is it working for a government department, making sure that health records and things are kept safe? Is it working for a private company that is at the cutting edge of new technology and all the things that can provide us? Technology is a huge disruptor in the world of commerce, in the world of health, in the world of everything. Technology is at the forefront, and we've seen this year, even though AI has been around for a while, that this year in particular, AI has just gone crazy and everyone is talking about it. Everyone is using it. Everyone is using ChatGPT to help them write things or understand things. My one point about that, about chat, is we use it in the career centre as well. But we always try and put the human back in the AI. because you'll notice if you ask it to write something that's got anything personal or should have anything personal in it, like a cover letter or a CV, it can't do it. It can only present you with the facts. And if you are only presenting the facts to employers, you are not telling your story and you're not being very memorable. And AI has a certain style of writing. So if it's not your style, yes, it's great to use it as a tool, but then you need to make it your style because it stands out when students come to me with a letter that I know they've just asked chat to write. And I go, this says nothing about you. It uses words that you wouldn't normally use. It writes in a certain style, and it's not very good at being Australian. It's not very good about spelling things the way we spell them here. It has an American focus. So if you just print things out and don't go back and check it and edit it, then it's quite easy to see that you've used something other than your own thoughts. Okay, so that's just a little word of warning. It's a great tool, and I think everyone should use it and embrace it because it's the latest disruptor, and it is going to be used a lot. But just remember that you have to put the human back in the AI for anything that is personalized. So after you've done some thinking and you've got to the bottom of what is your why are you doing things, and you know about your passions, you can write yourself a little mission, a values and a vision statement, just like your corporation would. Okay, if you're going to market yourself to people, you have to know what these things are. Do you have a tagline? Are you something in particular? I use the term for myself. I use the term either navigator or wayfinder. That's what I am. I'm a wayfinder. I help students find their way into professional work. I help them navigate the world of work. So when I'm talking to people about what I'm passionate about, that's how I describe myself. Yeah? Because that's what I love to do. I love to see you all succeed. I love to hear your stories when you come back and you see us again and you tell us all the great things that you've been doing. That's my jam. That's what I love to do. Yeah? So find that in yourself. Think about who you are and what you do and what you can give to other people or to organisations, and talk about yourself in those terms. Your brand statement should be concise, but it should also be impactful. So when I tell people I'm a navigator, they go, "Oh, you're a what? I thought you were a careers advisor." Oh, yes, I'm a careers person, but I navigate as well. And use storytelling to convey your brand and identity effectively. So that's what I do when I call myself a navigator. I always have to explain. And that's a good thing. You want to have to explain what you mean by that, because it allows you to tell your story and to talk about the things that you want to do. And you never know when you're going to make that connection with someone, or they're going to go, they might remember me because I've called myself a navigator rather than a careers person. Yeah. So it's all about your individual story. So if you're going to operate on social media, or if you're going to have a website, you need to make sure that your brand is consistent across all those things. Do any of you have a website currently? No? Okay. So everything that you say on one piece of social media, you should be backing up on another piece of social media. The way you connect with people might be slightly different, because on LinkedIn, it's a much more professional setting. Although I think LinkedIn is becoming more and more like Facebook every day. It's people posting, happy pictures of themselves. But that's a story for another time. But LinkedIn is a much more professional setting. So you can try and make contact with, CEOs and strategic people from companies that you are interested in. You can follow influencers, but don't just follow them. You need to make sure that you're actually interacting with them. And that's where your brand has to be consistent. So if they happen to come across you somewhere else, that you are giving them the same message and they know for sure that it's the same person. If you've got a different message on every site, it's easily confused. So make sure you have a professional email address. Make sure on your LinkedIn you have a professional photo, just a head and shoulders shot. And it's not, you know, you holding your puppy or taken at the beach or anything like that. Just make sure it's a professional headshot and make sure you are consistent. Be active. So this week you're going to be active in person because you're going to be meeting a lot of people, you're going to be pitching to people, you're going to be presenting your ideas. So take this week to really perfect that. The best way to perfect it is by practicing out loud, by actually saying the words. If you're just thinking about it and making notes, you're not giving your brain a chance to actually sort of set it in concrete. Now, we don't expect that you're going to pitch yourself exactly the same way every time. And in some cases, that can sound a bit robotic if you've just memorized something that you want to say. So you need to give your brain time to be able to find the narrative, to be able to tell the story about what you have produced, why you produced it, what do you hope to do with it, who are the people you hope will benefit from it. It's not just you completing an assignment for your unit. It's about you coming up with new and innovative ideas. It's about you trying to solve problems. So tell that story. Make sure that people are really understanding it. Don't just stand next to your poster and say, this is this, and this is this, and this is this, and this is the result. Okay, really find that narrative. So you will have to practice. So when you're in the, make some notes, stick them in the shower, not where they're going to get wet, but up top. Speak it out loud while you're showering, while you're driving somewhere, speak it out loud. Practice with someone else listening, like, you know, face to face, someone actually listening to you, so that you don't get nervous when someone is actually sort of really intently listening. And you will have to do that more than once to be really good at it. So don't just leave it until Thursday night and think, oh no, I've got to present tomorrow. What am I going to say? You probably should have already started on it, but you know, it's Monday. You've got 4 whole days to be working on it. So get some practice in. But what I was going to say is being active is about sharing your content or sharing content that adds value to the target audience. So if you come across something interesting in class, or in researching something for an assignment, that you come across an interesting article, post it. Doesn't matter that it might have been published years ago. Just say, you know, you're a student. They don't expect you to have read every single article that's ever come out. Just say you found this article really interesting and say why you found it interesting. Even if you're not getting anybody to respond to you by replying, people are still seeing it because it'll be in their feed. If you're commenting on someone else's, something else that they've posted, just make sure you're using a professional voice when you are writing your comment. Connect with people online and in person. So if you're just doing the in-person stuff, you're missing out on all the online things and vice versa. So really make sure that you are participating everywhere. If you are meeting people in person, see if you can connect with them. But also, don't just send them a thing that says, I want to connect with you. Send them a little message saying, oh, it was really great to meet you today. I was really interested in our discussion about, or our conversation about, whatever. And think of a question that you can ask them. They're more likely to engage with you, and if they think they're sort of helping you and they're imparting some wisdom to you, and they'll want to connect. Because Darwin's like that. It's a very small community. We're a city, but we're still a small city. So all the IT people know each other pretty much. And you're about to step into that world. So you need to be getting to know everybody as well. So engage with your audience and respond to their feedback. So a little bit about networking. It's not just about who you know, but it's also about who knows you. Yeah. So how many people in the room have been going to all the industry events this year? Through ACS or ASA, anything like that? Only a few of you. The rest of you are missing out. Okay. You need to be out there and you need to be talking to people. That should be the first thing that you get told when you're at university. Your university degree gives you the technical knowledge. The rest of it is up to you. So you have to get out there and talk to people. The ones that do are the ones who are going to get the jobs over you. Harsh, but true. Yeah. In a small community, that's the way it works. In a bigger city, you still need to get to know the people, but you won't get to know all the people. Here in Darwin, you're lucky. You can sort of meet people from the companies that you're really interested in, or the specific industries. You can meet a lot of people. And it can make it easier when you're applying for jobs. So make sure if there's anything on, if the Career Centre is running anything, if the IT Student Association is running anything, if ACS or ASA or any of the others are running something, you really need to make time in your schedule to go, because it is part of your university degree. You're not going to get credit for it, but you might get a job out of it. And I think that's the ultimate that you need. Just walking away with that piece of paper that says you have a Bachelor of IT or whatever, or a Master of Cybersecurity, doesn't mean anything if you don't know anyone. Build authentic relationships by offering help and support. So help and support doesn't have to be from an IT standpoint. In your conversation when you're meeting someone, you could say, you could talk about other things. You could say, oh, you know, I noticed there's a new noodle house opened in Mitchell Street or whatever. Have you been there yet? Oh, I went there the other weekend and it was really great. You're offering them a recommendation. Doesn't have to be work all the time when you are talking to them. So practicing that small talk is really important as well, not just your professional voice, but your small talk too. They might tell you something about their kids. Oh, you know, I've got to go early today. I've got to go and pick up my kids and take them to soccer training. The next time you meet that person, what do you think your conversation starter is? How are your kids going at soccer? Yeah, you're developing a relationship with them. It's not just I want a job. It's a relationship. And people are more willing to do things for others when they're in a relationship. Does that make sense? We all on the same page? Yeah, good. All right, personal style. Everyone's slightly different. Your personal style is your overall image. It includes how you dress. So when you go to an industry event, don't go looking like a student. Don't go in your shorts and your t-shirt and your runners. You need to dress for the sort of job that you want to get. So if you want something professional, when you go and you meet professional people, you need to look professional. when you're all dressed as students, I guess you kind of all, you look like students. You don't look like you're ready for work. Okay. So just a little bit of effort, just wearing a shirt with a collar, wearing long pants instead of shorts. Just those little things can really elevate people's opinions of you. Because there's a lot of neuroscience about how quickly people form an opinion of you, or that first impression, an unconscious bias that they might have. It's only a few seconds. And if you make the wrong impression to start with, then you're on the back foot and you've got to work twice as hard to catch up. It's similar to when you answer the tell me a bit about yourself question in an interview. It's nearly always the first question. Tell us a bit about yourself. And you might get asked that when you're networking as well. If you can answer that really well and positively, that sets the tone for the whole interview or the whole conversation that you're going to be having. So again, it's something that you need to practice about. Has anyone been in my workshops where I tell you how to answer? Tell me about yourself. Do you remember? You start with the present. Yeah, thank you, Ash. You start with the present. So you talk about what you're doing now. So currently you are a student, but you're also maybe working part-time or volunteering or part of the student association. And what are the things that you've been learning? What are your experiences teaching you? What are you loving about? What subject are you really enjoying at the moment? Then you talk a little bit about your past. So where have you come from? Have you already done an undergraduate degree and you're now doing your master's? Have you come straight from high school? Have you got other relatives who work in the same field? Have you had any past work experience? And what did that teach you? What did you learn from that experience? What skills did you develop? And then you talk about the future. What is it that you hope to do? What do you want to achieve? Who do you want your customers to be? Well, who are the people that you want to serve? Who are the companies that you would like to work with? Don't say that if you're in a job interview. You want to work for that company. But if you're just talking in general, what sort of companies do you want to work for? Do you want to start your own company? Everyone will have a different tell me a bit about yourself. So work on the narrative and make sure that it's ready to go. That little story is ready in your brain to talk about. So ask for testimonials and recommendations. You can do that on LinkedIn quite easily. They facilitate that for you. Asking for recommendations from employers, you can only do once you have developed a relationship with them. It's not something that you should do in the first conversation. Yeah. It's something that you build a relationship with them over time, and then you can say, oh, look, I'm really looking, do you know anybody who works at wherever? I'm really looking for a way in. Is there someone you can introduce me to? It's more than likely possible that they can. Certainly put them up on your social media, on your LinkedIn, if you've been recommended or endorsed, or you've got a testimonial. So if you have done some work for IT Code Fair and one of the lecturers or someone emails you and says, thanks, that was a really great job you did. We really appreciated all the work that you did. Put that little testimonial somewhere where people can see it. It all adds to your story. You also have to adapt and evolve once your career gets going, or if your goals change, then there might be different people to meet. It might be at a different level, might be different companies. you decide you want to take your career in a different direction. And in the Career Centre, we like to talk about saying yes to new opportunities whenever they come along, even if it's something you're not sure that you want to do, just say yes. What's the worst that can happen? The more you experience, the more skills you develop, the more relationships you develop. So saying yes to things is a great way to evolve and move forward. These things take time. As I said at the beginning, you're not going to have developed a whole personal brand between now and Friday when you're delivering your pitch. But it's something that you should be thinking of and you should be mindful of so that you can tell your authentic story and pitch your project with authenticity. It may take time to see results. Probably won't be just one conversation, there'll be lots of conversations. So the more you get out there and talk to people and the more you're on LinkedIn, the bigger the relationship you're going to build, and then you'll start to see some traction happening. So think about long-term growth. Yeah. How many of you here are in their final semester, or have you just finished? Anyone just finished? Okay. And how many of you got work lined up? How many of you went out and did some networking? Yeah. Not many. Okay. It would have been useful for you to do that earlier on. So now you're just in the pool of applicants. But you have Friday. You have Friday to meet people. And if you're part of the speed dating, you have Friday to tell your story and pitch yourself. So say yes, take advantage of it, and make sure that you have thought about the sorts of things that you want to tell people. What are the sorts of things that you want people to know about you before Friday? So my takeaways for today are: tell your story. Make sure that your story is consistent across everything that you do. Be active, get out there and do things. Say yes to things. Adapt and evolve. So make sure you're always growing, always learning, always meeting new people. And be patient and persistence. It requires a little bit of resilience, actually, getting your first job out of university. The first job out of uni is always the hardest to get. So that's why we try and encourage you to do all these networking things while you're at uni. It's the hardest one to get. But once you've got that, you're on your way. So work hard at getting that first one, and it does require some resilience because you might get a lot of no's before you actually get a yes for a job. But remember, you only need one company to say yes. You don't need them all to say yes, you only need one. So whenever you're putting in an application and you're unsuccessful, ask for some feedback. What could you do better next time? Use it as a learning experience so that you are evolving and that your job applications are evolving to be at the standard or the level or the requirements that IT companies need and want. And where do you go to get more help? Career Centre. We can help you with all these things that we've just talked about. If you go into the Career Centre, there's a search bar at the bottom. If you put in personal brand or networking, you're going to find all sorts of information in there, and similar to what I've been speaking about today. Keep an eye out for workshops on networking or personal brand, or any of our workshops for that matter. Say yes. Even if you think you've got a pretty good CV, just say yes and come. Even if you only take away one thing from a 45-minute workshop, it's one thing that you didn't have beforehand. So make sure you get out there and get amongst everything. Yeah, that's my advice. So that brings me to the end. Did anyone have any questions? The answer to that should be yes. Someone got a question? Don't be shy. No? Okay, well, thank you for having me today. Oh, you do have a question? Yeah. In speed dating, you have to do the tell me a bit about yourself first. So start with the present, talk about the past, and then the future, and then allow them time to ask you a couple of questions as well. But you really do need, for those three things, is it a 5-minute speed dating? You only get 2 minutes with each employer. You can't say anything in 2 minutes.
5 minutes. 90 seconds.
Is it 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's 5 minutes.
It is 5 minutes. Gosh. You get 5 minutes. So you need to talk for about half that time about the tell me a bit about yourself, and then allow them time to ask questions. Also do some, I'm sure you get a list of who's going to be there. Do some research about the organisations that you're going to be talking to and have some questions ready. Write them down so you don't forget. They won't worry that you've got questions written down. They'll think you're super organised, and that's a good thing. Anything else? Well done for asking a question. Bravo. All good? Okay, well, thanks very much for having me, everybody. Good luck this week. I hope your pictures and everything go really well, and that you have a great day on Friday, and that you meet lots of people and make lots of new connections. Okay. Thank you.
Is it your glasses?
Yes, can't go without them. Thank you.
Hello. English for sharing tips, advice, and give your thoughts on how to build a personal brand. I think personal branding is really important. In Darwin, it's really small community, so it's all about. It's not about how many people you get to know. It's all about how well you get known with this community, so you get more opportunities for jobs, right? Before I move to the next part, I'd like to ask you guys a question. So imagine if you are like technically good, like 10 out of 10. So how many percent people would think, or people would perceive how good you are? Like how much out of 10? I don't think it's 10. So communication is really important. A big part of coming up with new ideas is being able to explain them clearly to others and talking about your projects to get others decided is actually a skill. And today we have Sai, Eden, who are really good at this to help. And they are actually winners from IT Code Fair last year. And they will discuss and share tips and their stories. They'll share the problems they run into and how they overcome the obstacles. This will help you learn how to talk about your project in the best way. And let's welcome Sai and Eden to the stage.
Maybe I can hijack that a little bit first. Yeah. Okay. So I just maybe Aiden can talk first, and then I can.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just.
Where's Sai?
So he's coming, he's on the way. Change what happened?
You share out the
I think they keep this on so that people can see what they look like. Yeah.
Yeah.
The light so that they can
Oh,
see.
yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
Or maybe if I.
Sorry guys for the interruption. I think it should be fine. Do you want a mic?
Sorry. Okay, I'm just hijacking this a little bit because I just want to talk about the requirements for the project. How many people here are doing coding competition? Only 5? Really? And then how many people are doing data science challenge? Great. And what about business innovation challenge? It seems to be the same group of people. And what about the rest that you're not putting your hands out? What do you do, audience? Yes. Well, I just wanted to let you know that, I mean, the important thing that you want to show to the judge, it's about your project, isn't it? Now, the person who listened to your project, they don't know what's the background. They don't know anything about your project. So I want it to be in the way that you think you are communicating your project to someone who has no background in IT even. Okay, let's imagine that you are going to be talking about the project that you developed to your grandpa that doesn't know about IT. What would you do? What would you say first? Background. That's good. Background. So the background would come into some motivation, a problem that happens in the system, and opportunity. Okay, maybe we are looking at some of you guys took IT service management. So we talk about continual improvement. Maybe there's no problem at all, but we want to continue to improve ourselves. So therefore, this is an opportunity, and that opportunity is leading me to a project. Now, after you talk about that for one sentence, then you're going to talk about what your project is about. Because this happened, so I developed this. So I have a solutions in data science, business innovation. That's okay. So I come up with this. How is that thing you propose going to solve the problem? How is your solution address the challenges that is happening? Okay, so that's what the judge would want to know. Okay, next, you might want to talk about different features. Okay, how is your systems work? You might also want to, maybe if you do coding competition, you might want to do a bit of walkthrough. If you do data science challenge or business innovation challenge, you might want to work through your interface to let the judges understand what is going on. How does your program work? How does your project work? Then finally, talk about what's the impact. Okay, you talk about how it solved the problem. Then you talk about the impact, extent that this is helping. Okay, after that, what do? You ask the questions. You ask the questions from the judge themselves. Is there anything I can tell you more about? Don't make that presentation too long. I would say most likely maybe 2 minutes. Okay, and always think about in marketing, we have this approach we call the framework as IDA. Does anybody know about IDA? Start with A. A, we start with attract, right? We attract that attention. How can we make them interest in our project? Maybe it might be in the way that you make your project looks unique. Maybe if you do research competition, you open your presentation with something, a statement that is interesting, that would attract people's attention. Okay, something that you think the audience is thinking the same way as you. Why would that important? Because you are trying to attract the audience attention in the sense that, look, do you have this problem? Guess what? I have the same thing. How does it happen? Is your audience going to feel that, hey, we have the same problem, we're on the same team, they're willing to listen to you next. Okay, now first, attention. Second, I. So I here, can you guess what would you want them to be after they? Interest, very good. Yes, so we want them to be interested. So in here, you might want it to talk about what's in it for them. Okay, why is it important? How is it relevant to the person? Because sometimes, let's say you talk about something that is far away from the person, they cannot contextualize how is this going to affect me? How is it going to help me? Then you get them to be interested. Now, D, can you guess what that D come from? What word? Desire. Desire. We want them to want it. Look, my program does this, does that. It helps solving the problem. Okay. Look, there's only one copy here. No one else has it. Okay. I have this copyright, something that make them want to be desired. What is marketing approach that make people desire is about usually limited edition. Because it's so limited, so you will be special who have it, right? So people have that desire. You build up. Before you go to see the movie, we got movie trailer. Talk about different movies, isn't it? So it makes you desire, you want to watch it. They only pick the highlights of the movie so that you see what is important. Now, after that, after you stimulate that desire, is the last phase, which is the most important one, action. We make them take action now. Okay. We want them to ask for your contact details. What's your email? What's your phone number? Okay. I'm willing to trial this software for your company if you want to try it. Okay, something that make them take action. Okay. Sometimes when you're selling, this is the last bottle. Okay, this is the last bottle. If you leave here, you're gonna miss that. You will not have a chance. Okay. So when you feel that is that one bottle left, a lot of people would want to have that tendency to buy because they don't want to lose that opportunity. Okay. Then what the seller does is after you sell it, you take next one. This is the last one. Right. So think about the technique that you could do to make the judge listen to you, and always look at the marking rubrics. Right. So if it's like coding program, we're looking for workability, interface. Is it easy to use? Is there any bugs? I mean, I think you have to look at what is different marking rubrics for you. Okay, so that's just some of the requirements that I would like to pass on before we meet Sai and Eden. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
You share in Twitter.
Yeah, no worries.
Morning, everyone. I don't know how I'm going to go with this because I have a very short script and I have quite a large range of audience. But my name is Eden and I was a Master Data Science graduate last year, 2022. My supervisor was Sami Hassan, if you know him. And I was the winner for the research competition. So I think that today there's also round one for the research competition, which I also attended about the same time last year, but last year it happened like in December. So I have a few more time to prepare compared to this year, but good luck for anyone here doing the research competition today. A bit about me. I have a degree in supply chain management for especially logistics. So basically, I'm very business oriented. And then at the end of my degree, I just realized that to enter the workforce and to make a real impact, being a generic logistic worker might not be the field for me because my mind is quite analytical. I like numbers, I like facts, and I like to convince the senior directors or the management team that I am researching about something. So I believe that IT or data will be the field for my career choice. So after finishing my bachelor degree, I went to CDU for master in data science. Up to now, I have zero regret that I did that degree. So if you don't think that you are, if you just doubt that you are whether you're making the right choice, if you like numbers, the course at Charles Darwin University is doing something, I think, valuable for you to enter the workforce, which I will explain later. But for the research competition last year, my project was about machine learning and then predicting the probability of a disease. It's just a women disease. And I had the chance to collaborate with researchers from Menzies School of Medical Research, which was a privilege. The project really escalates over the time. At the beginning, I just pick a very random data set from cargo.com. If you're doing data science, probably you know that platform where you can see the sample code, the data set that experienced data scientists, experienced data analysts share on the platform, and then you just download it and follow the instruction, follow the code. You don't really have to know that you are really good at coding to do the project, but the thing about research is not doing something novel, not creating something new, because if you can do that, you're going to win Nobel Prize. You're not going to here to do something else. But the point of my project was trying to improve the accuracy of the predicting model. So at the beginning, I had no idea about what machine learning is, how to create a program or how to code in Python. I have no experience at all. In 2 years, I practiced coding myself on several platforms, and I really get into Python programming. But really, I don't like to set up local environments. I usually use cloud platform like Google Colab to code all my project there, because what I have seen the benefit of this is you can easily share your projects with your friends so that they can have view too. And then also you can copy or clone the code from other experienced data practitioners so that you can see, you can compare the difference on cloud. It's basically everywhere. You don't have to save your code locally. So if you go to the uni, the library, you can just log in and keep coding. And when I was doing my thesis project, I was really reluctant because, as I told you before, I'm still business oriented. I don't think that one day I will become a researcher and I just working in the lab to improve the algorithms or anything like that. So there are several lecturers at CDU, as you are aware, and they have very unique and different styles, teaching styles, like Dr. Sami Azam, Dr. Jakob Sebastian, Dr. Kat, and Dr. Cherry, and other lecturers. They are all great lecturers, to be honest. Well, when I was studying with my friends, we students tend to complain because of the course is quite complex, it's quite long, whatever it is. But when I enter the workforce with a fresh mind, I feel really thankful for the lesson because somehow I can refer to the old materials to see the foundations. It's just the foundation, but it will help you to speak the same language with your senior workers in the workforce. Other than that, you have no experience. So what you expect to chat with them? You chat with them about the theory, about the thing that you learn in uni. And once you mention that, you learn that from uni, maybe your senior workers start willing to share more about that topic, and then you guys get along together. So back to choosing the supervisor, I just pick, I don't know, pick, but decided to collaborate with Dr. Sami Azan because he is very technical, but he also a professional practitioner in machine learning. Well, at first I thought that I would go for someone with business-oriented data set like Dr. Cherry or Yakut. But then I realized that I need to sharpen my skills in the technical field first. So I go with Dr. Sangasam. It's just personal preference. So there's no one is better or anything like that. But it really gave me a hard time to do the thesis because the expectation was quite high. The problem is we started with a data set on cargo.com and the data set is not that big, but there were already someone doing it previously, and they achieved the results something like 91% accuracy. It just means that the accuracy means that when you develop a machine learning model to predict something, if you give them 100 sample, it can predict up to 91% correctly whether this one will belong to this category or the other category. So in terms of disease, it just means that is this person sick or they are not sick? Because the previous model was already quite high and I had no experience in researching or either machine learning, it was a real struggle. I think I developed my mental illness somewhere in the middle of my thesis period, which will last about 1 year from January 2022 to December 2022. I still remember that when I was walking to the supermarket and I keep mumbling that, how do I achieve 23% accuracy to beat the person who uploaded the data set? I keep repeating that with no one. I'm just talking to myself. And at that period, I realized that, well, I need to balance study and life, I guess. So I took some supplement to balance my mind and just take it easy. I just comfort myself that even that I cannot beat that accuracy level, I still have to produce a thesis so that I just finish my degree. I don't need to be high distinction student or anything. All I want is that I want to get my normal mental health back and get a degree to finish it. But that thing really helped me. I mean, the supplement, also the mindset that, well, if I can be the best, I just can do the bare minimum so that I can focus on the long-term career growth rather than like altering my mental health or something at the short term. I have seen that several times from my friends when they're trying to really break the gap between university and work, where they have to spend time to find a professional job. And it's really struggling in a small market and the mental health suffers. I just want to tell you that in the meantime, to look at the positive side that you still have free time to sharpen your technical skills, build your own personal projects, and those projects will carry you over the years. It's not just 2 months. So just look at the bright side. Back to my thesis. Still, at one day, I just read another article and I achieved a breakthrough. So my machine model achieved an accuracy rate up to 95%. And my supervisor was really happy. I was happy too. But I just realized that all the pressure I had to go through is not worth it. I don't think that such achievement will boost my self-esteem or the pride to tell other researchers that I have done something significant. But what I really want to work in is to tell people that what I have done about the project, about the impact project. So I realized that, yeah, I'm not going to be a researcher. I'm not going to do any PhD or something like that in the near future. And then for the research competition on that day, even though that I won the competition against other students, I think that there were 10 of us for the first round. And then for the second round on the main event, there were 5. But it's not about losing or winning actually, because no one is gonna lose. You already have your pieces on the paper, on the desk, ready to submit to your supervisors. And this competition is just a chance for you to tell your fellow students, for the audience, that you have done some good things, and you believe that those things can help to transform the society that you live in, or at least to build your technical career. So, any one of you joining the research competition today? Can I see your hands? All right, that's quite a few. Should I share any winning tips, or you have to pay for that? I'm just kidding. So the first tip is that when I did the competition, there was no tip for me, because I just think at that time that it's just an event that we can participate, we can see our other fellow students, to have fun, to see the employers, to connect to the industry. And that an Antiquity Fair was a very memorable event for me, because the first half of my degree I did entirely online because of COVID-19. And then only the second part is I did physically here in Darwin. And it was a chance for me to meet my awesome fellow students like Tracy here, like Anne here. So it was just the the event for me to connect to my friends. And for the first round, I think that the key was to find the right balance and make sure that you don't expose everything that you can do. Save it for the later, please. Why? Why is that? Because I think I won the competition because I surprised the panel. In the first round, I was still on holiday, and I was just sitting in front of my laptop to present, while other people already in the stage. They are on the stage and they deliver their speeches. But I try to do my best, but I never deliver with this kind of touch, like kind of luring you and try to engage the audience. I didn't do that. I just said, well, my speech is about blah, 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 blah. Because I know that my work is significant, and there were about 15 participants, and they will take about 10. It means that my winning chance to enter the first round is very significant. I don't need to push hard. I want to say the best for the later. However, you still have to follow the criteria. Like, do really follow the criteria. You have to make sure that you cover all those things, and also, you gotta understand that even you're speaking to IT people, but not many people really care about the technology behind the large language models, about the temperature, how to make your model more creative, how to reduce it, or how to make it sound stupid. But all they want is to see the interface of ChatGPT like. So you have to find the right balance and know your audience. No one wants to sound too technical, because not everyone likes that, and they want to be entertained. That's the key. And actually had a fight with it's not a fight, it's like a very intense argument with my supervisor. We literally emailed back and forth, because in that competition, there were also 2 other students from the same supervisor, and we are also trying to pitch our project to win the award, which is very prestigious. I think it's a coast voucher, like $50. I just argued with my supervisor to win coast voucher. No, but my supervisor wanted me to be very specific, to tell the technical expert at the event that we are doing machine learning stuff, serious machine learning. We push the boundary. We already beat the other researchers, and the technology that we use sound really fancy. In that time, we use simulated annealing, random forest, XGBoost. Yeah, I barely remember them, but no. The point is, I just told my supervisor that no, the audience will not like it, and I don't. This is in my research. I think that I want to entertain my audience. I want to say that even if we're doing this hard work, the society will benefit from it in that way. So it will save time. It will reduce the cost for the medical practitioner to tell whether this person is sick or not. My supervisor didn't agree with that video. He still keep insisting that you have to follow all these templates that I have done for you. And you know what? He was right, because he was a very experienced researcher. Do you know why he was right? Because the other two students followed the template. They already beat the student from other supervisors. They won the second and the third prize in the competition, meaning that all the students from my supervisor won the research competition from the first to the third prize. But the only one who decided to entertain the audience, to tell the people that we are researchers, but we want to sell our idea in the way that we will benefit the society, and there are ways to improve this project in the future. And if you're interested to contact us, something like that. Yeah, it's like a sales pitch for your research, and I won't. So I think that my experienced supervisor knew how to do stuff, but to stand out in a competition, you have to put in your unique characteristic and the sense of pride to tell the world that this is my work. And after all the research that I have done, I think that you guys will like it. So that's my tips for today. I think I talked a little too long, but thanks for listening.
It works. All right, guys, I'm sorry I don't have these slides or notes.
Can you? Yeah, sorry, just testing. My voice is still good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we should be able to manage without a mic in a small lecture like this, you know? That's when you're like good at with your voice pitch, and that's what you need at the competition as well. Before we start all of this, I would like to acknowledge the custodian, landowners of the Darwin, the Daraki people, that pay my respects to the elders of the past. Right. Let's make this a little bit more interactive, so I'll be taking more questions from you guys. Before that, as you know, I studied here. I was in USC like during 2018 to 20. I was a master's data science student, and then I did an internship, then worked with NTG as a contractor, then I worked with a startup as a team lead. Now I'm back to NTG as a senior integration analyst. So Peter said very well about a lot about research. I'm more of a get your hands dirty guy. So I like to get my hands dirty. I'm not a lot of research guy. You can ask Barney about it. He knows my paper. He's my supervisor for my thesis. But we did really good on the project. Okay, the code we did, the developments we've done. Yeah. So let's take questions from you guys. What do you want to know? Who's actually doing coding competition or business innovation challenge? Who's doing it? Can you raise your hands, please? So, 6. Okay. Next time, I want you, all of you, to raise your hands because you should all participate in that. It's quite good. I'll tell you a little bit about what I did during, let's talk about pitching your project. Okay, so what we're talking about here is the 2 minutes that you got to present yourself. Okay, anyone doing the speed dating here? That's quite a number of people. That's good. So speed dating, we got 2 minutes. A lot of people say 2 minutes is a lot of time. A lot of people say 2 minutes. Not at all. Cherry, correct me, is it 2 minutes this time as well? 5. Well, that's good. Why is that? You gave me only 2 minutes. No, it was 2. I remember it really well. Believe with me, believe. Because it was 25 times 2, that's right. You know? So anyways, 5 minutes. That's long. Okay, you need to, so for the most important thing is, you need to keep them entertained, as Cherry mentioned. 5 minutes is a long time. People will easily get distracted. Even watching 5 minutes of YouTube video is really hard these days. People really want to watch those shorts with 15, 30 seconds. So you need to keep your whoever is interviewing you need to keep them really, really focused on you. So when they'll become so focused is when you talk about the things that they like. Okay, and of course you should like it too, because you can't pretend something that you don't like as you're liking it. Okay, so what happens is you have like 10, 20 people interviewing you. So in my experience, some of them like me a lot. Some of them are like, nah, we don't have any job for you. So it happens. Don't get upset. You can't impress everyone and you don't suit everyone. So that's the thing. If you go to a company and apply for a job, if you don't get it, don't get loud. Don't feel bad because you just don't feel that there could be a better opportunity for you. So keep the spirit. So talk about your projects. When you're talking to people, give them a nice firm handshake, and greet with a smile. Show that you're open to questions, show that you're confident. Keep eye contact, good eye contact, but don't stare at them. Okay, you need to break it sometimes. So that's that eye contact etiquette. So I think 3 minutes to explain yourself, sure, you said? And 2 minutes for them to ask questions.
Introduce yourself.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So, yeah, tell them your project. So people who done projects outside their academy. So I'll tell you my experience. Last year, I was at Code Fair. I was there with a lot of expectations. I was actually looking to hire 2 guys. I was working in the startup, we needed people. I was a little disappointed looking at the projects. There were some really good projects, but not as many as I would like to, keeping in mind our IT students are a lot more these days compared to when we were here. In data science, we were 2 students. So I always got second rank at least. Never less than that. First rank, second rank. That's it. So I think these days you can get probably 10th rank, 15th rank as well. So yeah, we have a lot more students coming from various backgrounds, so we open IT to people from other backgrounds as well, which is good because they bring different perspectives, people coming from mechanical engineering has different perspective when compared to IT people. I'll tell you one example. So don't do this, okay? This is off the record. I went to India. I was working from home, okay? So I need to keep my teams open for some time to show people I'm available. Okay, but I was going up, setting up for like 30 minutes. It's a cheeky thing. Then what I did, I started writing a script. It keeps running, keeps your mouse moving and doing all that stuff. Okay, I was automating it because by blood I'm a developer. Then I looked at my friend. He's not a developer. He's a gravy database admin. What he did, he took an object, a coffee mug, he opened Notepad, left it on the space bar, and gone. Easy. Look at that. I was spending like hours, I spent at least an hour on writing that script. It's a simple technique. Just put some object on, some key. Easy. So people bring different perspectives to solving problems. That's what makes teams, unique. you don't want everyone to think alike. You want different opinions. So if your opinion is different, others, don't feel bad. If you don't fit in the team, don't feel bad. You know, eventually they will understand and you'll understand too. Okay, so projects, let's talk about projects. Whatever project you do, make sure you have a prototype of it at least. That would be nice because people like to see things working. That's what I would like to see as well. You know, if it is working, as Cherry said, they have a rubric. If it's a prototype, doesn't have bugs, it's working, you know, your presentation is good, you get maximum marks and you'll win. Win or lose, don't care because I never won a coding competition, but I won a lot of hearts from, you know, a lot of people. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Okay, with the hearts, not the award. Okay, award is a bonus, but your target should be winning people, you know, that's what I just at the end of the day. People recognize you and they give an opportunity. So that's what happened to me as well. No, it's a great place to meet a lot of people, grow your network. Okay, won't take much of your time, but I'd like to, for you guys to speak, ask me questions, anything you like. Anyone? Come on, it can be silly, stupid, anything. That's fine.
I'll just start. Can you tell us about the pitch you used during your employee speed dating?
It's a long time ago, let me know. Because I think I strongly remember Cherry, I don't know why, but it's very short time, it was 2 minutes. Yeah. No, I have a good memory, believe it or not. So I had like 1 minute to present myself and 1 minute for them to ask me questions. I started with a handshake. So first of all, you know, you need to do some research about who's coming to the coding competition or who are going to be there. Interviewers there, you know, so there's gonna be like 10, 20 at least companies. So choose what you're looking for. Who are you trying to impress? I was trying to impress InterSystems back then. Because did anyone apply for InterSystems internship this year?
Yeah.
Raise your hands, please.
I failed the test.
Sorry?
I failed the test.
That's all right. You know, that's all right. So they have these 3 tests. So did you? Oh, you won't get your score. How can you know you failed?
They responded saying that you haven't passed.
Okay, that's yeah. But that's all right. You can try next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't allow.
I'm trying, you know.
I passed the test,
Yeah.
but this year I applied. There's like there are people who are giving 20 out of 20, so you won't even be getting second chance.
Okay, maybe I'll get those next time. So, stay positive, you know, that's what keeps you, what you're, okay, always be positive, don't get low. If it's not in the systems, it's in DG. If it's not in DG, okay, one important thing I want to tell you guys, if you ever planning to join NDG, don't rely on ChatGPT like this, okay? What happens with ChatGPT is like, makes you lazy, it makes you rely on it very much for the code. Okay, what you need to do is, once you understand the programming language to certain level, then you can probably use ChatGPT because it's a boring task to write that function again and again, or, you know, to do this. But if you do it in your initial days, when people cut ChatGPT, or when you come to NDT, you don't have access to ChatGPT, you know, whatever it takes, you have to do it your own. So that kind of skill you really need. So you can take help from ChatGPT to get some ideas, or, you know, there's a lengthy function that you would like to generate or something. But I would say don't rely on it. Okay. It's not good. You know, you need your own ideas, and one day, who knows, when the internet blows, you need to write your own program. You don't have ChatGPT. Yeah, that's not good.
I wanted to share ChatGPT.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right. Yeah, borrow the mic.
Yeah.
Just for a second. This is very good part about ChatGPT and being lazy on us. But I would strongly recommend you, when you write your cover letter, to apply for entry level or any, like fresh junior position at anti-government, and when it drilled down to department specifically, don't write your cover letter using ChatGPT, because there will be people, actual human, read your cover letter and evaluate your commitment to excellence, your commitment to serve people, and commitment to stay and contribute to the Northern Territory. And ChatGPT doesn't understand that much of emotional level and the committing to build a better society here than you, who actually physically live here and stay here and interact with people here. So even your English is not good, just write it from your heart, write from your willingness to work, to contribute, and ask some expert to fix it for you. That's what I did when I was applying for my graduate program, which is a very competing program where we actually have to compete against interstate graduates as well. So for example, in my department and in the program last year, there were only 3 of us going to Department of Industry, Tourism and Trade amongst 200 applicants. And there's only me who's actually graduating from Darwin. The other 2 graduates, they coming from Tasmania and Queensland. And the HR person, she actually read every cover letter to really see that who is really willing to work in the NT government. So ChatGPT doesn't really want to work for the NT government.
That's cool. Yes. It doesn't have the human emotion, you know. And sometimes ChatGPT is just too perfect. That's not, you know, we are not too perfect. We make mistakes. That's what makes us humans. So, getting back to your question. Sorry for the detour. Right. So I went to them. I was aiming for a couple of companies. So I did a research about them for InterSystems. They use their own language, the object script, and their own technologies, which I never heard of. Nobody taught me nothing. Okay, but it's a cool company. It's great technology being worked on it for almost 4 years now. It's great. Okay, once you get into it, you won't leave. So that's very cool technology. If you guys, what I would suggest is, back then we didn't have many people telling us about anything about AutoScript because no one knew. But if you guys need any help with it, learning things about it, get in touch with me. I'm happy to help you guys. So I spoke to them about their technologies. They were happy to see someone speaking about their technologies, talking about track care and other stuff. So that's the initial engaging point that I made. Like, they were happy, and I did write those, and fortunately managed to pass and scored to be one of the top. So that's another good thing. So we talked about projects. I did a drone project back then. We talked about the projects. They asked me about my interests. Why did I take a drone project, even though I'm not supposed to do it, but I did it because I wanted to do it. I'm passionate about it. And we talked about my side projects, you know, helping lecturers learn with the unit, tutoring and other stuff. Oh, cool, that's great. That's what people look for. Okay, they look for you to go beyond. Okay, just don't stick with what's in the textbook, just go beyond. And of course, you should have some passion. You can develop passion towards it, and your commitment and your hard work, that should be reflected in your projects. And when you talk, you know, when you're passionate about something, you keep talking, that, you know, people can smell it and they like it. That's what I like when I look at candidates, and I've seen a lot of people like that. So, and again, if you fail to impress them, that's fine. There are other things. It's just you don't match together. That's all. Is that cool?
Yep.
Any more questions, please?
I was working as an integration analyst. Basically,
So I joined integration analyst recently. So before that, I was integration developer. Okay, integration analyst is cool, but not so cool because we don't code a lot. You work a lot with speaking with people. Okay, you'll be analyzing requirements. You will be analyzing interfaces to integrate two systems. You know, you'll be analyzing that kind of stuff, and occasionally we'll be doing coding. But having coding knowledge is very important because you understand how you can solve problems. It's more of a problem solving thing. So it's quite exciting. I'm learning a lot of things these days. It's quite good. I'm working on different technology now, which is .NET. So it's a steep learning curve. So you always have a steep learning curve when you start something new, but once you get used to it, it'll be cool, easy. Okay? Any other questions?
Do they use MuleSoft and stuff like that?
No. No MuleSoft. Pure .NET integration. I know CDU uses MuleSoft, but I've seen MuleSoft .NET Iris. I would prefer Iris. I'm not selling into systems here, but I just like it. If that. All right, any questions? Come on, that's all right. You should have some questions. Right, I think was you. No?
I have a question for Eden. That's okay.
Come on, Mike.
About the call? Yeah. Yes.
I just want to know what it's like to work as a graduate in NTT.
Yeah, that's correct.
What is it like? What's your day like? How supportive is NTT with?
Oh, yeah. So thanks for the question. And if anyone interested in the program, and this one is actually very good for fresher, people who just freshly graduate from university with very little or to no experience like me. I didn't have a formal job before. I just keep starting straight from my high school semester degree, doing some online internship. And when I joined the program, they structure me with other, I think it's 40 undergraduates coming from all other departments, like not just industries, rhythm and trade, but we have someone from DCDD. Side, are you from DCDD too?
Yep.
Yeah, of course, IT people tend to sit in the centrally DCDD. Anyway, DCDD, Department of Education, Department of Treasury, Department of Chief Minister, Department of Territory Housing, and other department or depot like logistics and planning. My will was like, I want to join Department of Logistics, Infrastructure and Planning, but industry tourism and try pick me and remove me out the talent pool when they make the offer. So I just commit to stay in this. But the program is very supportive. You have to rotate across the team. It's not just the team sitting on one floor, but they actually challenge you. You may like me, I have a degree in supply chain, so they put me into the economics team, and then also the tourism team, and now sitting into the system team, the business system. So different areas for you to learn and grow. So you will learn, work without the fear of losing or failing your supervisor because they know that they are challenging you. They're challenging you. They're giving you an opportunity to learn and as much as you can and contribute back to the workforce. So it's a great opportunity. And then on the way, you will have several scheduled compulsory trainings about the funds, about the tax revenue of the anti-government, about other things that you have to learn with other graduates from departments. So you will have some discussion and of course, because the program is very competitive, so you really have really mind-provoking discussion with other, like if it's just students or you're learning, then your arguments could be wrong. But when you are at the workplace, you are representing your department, you have just a solid understanding to talk with your co-workers. And this is where I feel like the graduate grant is a really great opportunity for me and for anyone student here interested in it.
Yeah, that's cool. I've heard a lot of good things about graduate program as well. I've seen a lot of people joining NPG. I tried a couple of them. And it's a nice place to start, what can I say? They don't put a lot of pressure on you. You don't need to be an expert in everything, and you don't need to be an expert because you're a graduate. That's what the program is. They teach a lot of things. And even if you make mistakes, we're cool, don't mind, because you learn. That's where we all started. Yeah. Over the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sai and Eden, for sharing your stories and your tips to our attendees today. We really appreciate it.
Come close. Yeah. Are you scared of each other? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and all the best. Look forward to seeing you all at the Petticoat Fair.
Thank you.
Oh, tea break, tea break.
Hi, everyone. So for now, we'll have a tea break and the workshop will resume at 11 a.m. See you later. We'll have can I ask you a question?
Hey guys, how you going?
Yeah.
Good to see you all.
Where's Jerry? Not here, like.
Oh, it's not good stuff. I'm not sure. Yeah. I sent through just some slides before. I only sent them about an hour or a bit ago. Yes, I sent you an email this morning. No, it's an individual.
Which one?
Hang on.
Or can you just send it through my email so I can just.
Oh, hang on, yeah.
Oh, it's a small word.
You ready for the afternoon? Presentation.
I am not.
Need to take pictures. Oh, yeah, that's this.
I got this started.
Um. Jerry was here earlier. I think. Some people from career center also want to come listen to the.
Hang on. Really?
Oh, but I can't get access. Okay, can I just forward to my email?
Yeah, you type your email address, it's probably gonna be easier.
That's weird. I haven't got it.
Oh, you haven't got it? Right, message sent, I've just taken it. Sent items. No, definitely put the right email address in.
Or you can, accept the, I think. I finished my study. I started, I think, 2 years study. And you know what, I still remember for the first time I met you, that one day, the real time. And at the time, I still don't know what's ID and now I finished. And I go for NPC, so I feel, yeah, I feel like this.
Has it gone through?
Yes, yeah, I got it.
Excellent. Yeah, that was good outcome. It is. Sleep that day. Yeah. I'm confident say Just check, I got the Prozac making. Yeah. He's got it.
Yeah, I
That
got,
back?
yeah, is this one?
Yep. Yep. Is there a clicker? Or do I have to do the laptop?
I can do it for you.
It's all right. I can do it.
Yeah, so,
But so it's just on the laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problems. Thank you.
Oh, we are having a tea break till 11.
yeah.
Then after that, what we are having for presentation
Thing
on
is,
the thoughts.
which is for view, again, invoice for view, one, they are in the projects.
I'm changing. Can you go? Cancel numbers.
The orange stream, I said, you need to carry central with past year, and I think it's Sulas can have quite a Sulas can do it start. अब त्यस्तो मिल्छ भने चाहिँ सानो सानो सिफ्ट गरेर मल्टिपल टाइम्स गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ तिमीले पर्सनलाई चाहिँ राम्रोसँग चिन्ने मौका मिल्छ होइन तिमी वन्स अ विक आउन थाल्यो भने चाहिँ तिमी त्यो हुन थाल्यो भने चाहिँ मेबी ग्याप हुन्छ कि त्यो चाहिँ युज हुँदैन अफिस एक्टिभिटी my perspective. I'm not sure. I think like actually very is so social teaching in the right. I don't know. It's not something. Think of my meet of money, and so then you're the bedroom, output ban like 9 to 1 with this taking audience, just very down for the thing. Maybe it's just a problem, but it's still only got the response.
Damien. We actually have a Bluetooth mouse, if you don't mind using it.
Should be all right. I might just click through them quickly and just check that they're gonna. Yeah. So I go from 11 to 11:45, right? Yeah, okay. It's all right. I'll give you track of the time.
Okay.
And I have to use the mic.
You can either use this one or those.
Yeah, okay.
Or if you stay here, I think it's better to use.
Yeah, but I don't often, I will probably move around.
Then you just use that.
Yeah, okay. So if I just press that, if I just turn that on.
Yeah.
Test. It's not interfering with that. It's pretty good. Testing. Test 1, 2, 3. Testing. I can use either.
Yeah.
Perfecto. Do you want me to sit down there or do you want me to stay up here?
You can just sit stuff right there and I'll invite you to the stage. Yeah.
Okay, you gonna try those? Yeah, it's very safe.
You can either use my laptop or your laptop. Just okay. Send me your. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll just so the research competition will be like here as well. So people will take part to
International science.
Yes, yeah.
I also bring my egg. So,
Yes, I can do that.
Let's see. It's terrible.
Yeah, I feel the same. It's like a sliding. Look,
Terrible.
I feel that was just the only one set, but it's not like all of them.
But I think most of them are like that now. It's a good idea to have retractable stairs, but they haven't lasted very well.
Testing.
Great. And I'm gonna go down to that.
It's already 11.
Need to get your volunteers to get people to come back in.
어떤 단계에서 한 공부에서 더好一点。
我真的努力的下一站。
I know.
That's very touchy at the end of that.
I didn't have retractable feeding, but I haven't mastered very well.
No.
It's interesting. It's one of the buildings that eventually grow, so you know things. Thank you. No, no. I've got a as well. One session going on up there. You need to go up, yeah.
Is everyone here yet? Please come in. Should I start? So welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good tea break. Dear attendees, moving from school to work is exciting, but sometimes it's confusing. It can be tough knowing what jobs are looking for. We got Mr. Damian Charles here to help. He'll talk about what IT companies want from new graduates. Listen to Mr. Charles will help you bridge the gap between what you have learned and what you need to equip in the real world. So please join me to welcome Damian to the stage.
Hello everyone, how are you? Not sure why everyone went to the right hand side. It's like I'm looking this way, instead I gotta look this way. So for those that don't know who I am, my name's Damian Charles. I'm the regional manager for NEC Australia here in the Northern Territory. NEC is the largest non-government employer in the whole of the Northern Territory for IT services. We have about 180 NEC staff that work directly for us, and about another 50 staff that work through various partners of ours, through various subcontracts on our major managed services contracts. So there's about 220, 230 people that ultimately I'm responsible for, across all parts of the Northern Territory, all regional centres, but majority here in Darwin City. So for a number of years now, I've come and spoken to CDU students during the week of Code Fair in preparation for the speed dating, for Code Fair itself, but most importantly for getting a job. For those that have listened to me before, it's predominantly the same because it's so important. The things that I'm going to talk to you about today, they're just very fundamental for winning jobs here in the Northern Territory and starting off your career and being successful in your career. So, you know, it's not it doesn't change every year. You know, it's a consistent theme of things that you need to be thinking about to be successful. So, you know, just as a start, and I really don't like to stay still, and you're all over here, so I'm going to come over this way a little bit. So there's a couple of thoughts to really start with that are just fundamental in my mind. The first of those is your first role is not your last role, okay? So where you want to go to in the future is not where you're going to start, but you've got to build a career. So a career is not a sprint. So think about it like the Olympics. You're not a sprinter. Your race is not going to be over in 10 seconds. Think of yourself more as a marathon runner. Your career is a marathon. You have stages of a marathon, you're building and all of these type of things. If you try and sprint in a marathon, what happens? You often trip or you burn out and you fail. So you've got to think of it as a marathon and you're building, you're putting blocks upon blocks upon blocks upon blocks across your life to build a career. One failure does not mean your career is failed. It's only a step that you can learn from with failure. But at the same time, if you try and rush and push as well, that can also cause issues and burnout. And if you put your expectations up that you're going to do a 9-second 100-metre sprint as your first job in your career, you're probably setting yourself up for disappointment. And particularly here in the Northern Territory and across the industry, across Australia, you have to think differently. You need to know where you're going, where you want to be, but it's a journey and how are you going to get there. So think about throughout all my presentation, that thought, your first job, your first role is not your final role, okay? The other point that I want you to think about is about yourself. And this is very key. What is the difference maker for you? What makes you different than everyone else that's going in for an interview or going for the job? You know, what is that prospective employer going to see in you that's going to go, that person stands out above all of the other candidates, or that is one of the 3 or 4 top candidates in this whole batch of people who have applied for the role? What's your difference maker? Because right now, you're all here, you're all students, or you're finishing students, so that's not a difference maker, you're all the same. There's 30 people, there's one job. So what is the thing that is going to make individuals in this room stand out? And for each people, it might be something different. And I'll talk to the things that you should look at that are difference makers for you, okay? But in some cases, they'll exist because they might be an innate ability that you have. In other cases, it's something you might have to work on and create, okay, in preparation. And so listen today and think about it and then personalise it for yourself about what's going to be your difference maker when the time comes for an interview. And even on Friday, when you're doing speed dating, is everyone in the room doing speed dating on Friday? Yeah, majority of people. So what I'm going to talk about today will help you with that speed dating as well. And I'll touch on things in relation to the time that you have with speed dating and what you should be looking at, okay? So, you know, getting a job, an IT job, critical skills, qualities, experience, you know, what do you need? Communication skills, English proficiency. You're getting a job in Australia, in the Northern Territory. The majority of customers in IT that you will have and the majority of people that you'll work in the office are all English as a first language speakers, okay? And you will obviously, that's not all that will be in the office, but majority of all of the communication from a work perspective will be in English. Your interview, your very first job interview will be conducted in English. The better you are able to communicate in English and express yourself and position yourself through communication as the best candidate, the more likely you'll win that job, which will get you in the door, okay? And then let you progress, okay? So I can't stress it enough. And I understand, you know, I'm talking to the majority of students here who English is probably a second language, possibly even a third language, you know, in some cases. And it's something that is already a disadvantage for you in the sense that when you face off against someone who is, you know, from Darwin, for instance,
they will already have excellent communication skills in relation to being able to speak English. Now, of course, they might be shy or they might have other things that hinder their communication skills, but they fundamentally will already be ahead of you in that sense that they were able to be communicated in English, probably for the majority of people in a lot better way. But that doesn't mean that that's an issue for you. It's something you have to overcome and something you have to work on. And I've spoken to many students, and a number of students who I was speaking to at the front said, do you remember when we were talking earlier in the year and things like that? And I do remember all the conversations, but I also speak to students and I say things to them and I ask them later in the year, did you listen and did you do what I suggested to you 6 months ago? Because in four days, you've got probably 20 interviews that you'll be doing in about an hour and a half. And if you hadn't done the work 6 months ago and across those 6 months, you'd probably be ahead. And one of the things I always say to students is, particularly international students, is do practice interviews in English where you have someone else. It can be another student, possibly not your best friends, but it could be someone else who maybe you're not as fully comfortable with. But grab someone, say to them, and you can share, do interview questions. You do 3, the other person then does 3. And you ask them a question, tell me your experience in such and such. And then you answer it, always in English, okay? Practice that communication, practice speaking and articulating yourself in English, okay, in relation to job interviews. And you've still got time. You've got 4 days now. I know you've got some work with the cyber program tomorrow and some other things, but you still have some time. If you're really focused on this and you want these opportunities, these are the things that you will do, okay? So practice interviews in English, practice speaking in English, always. And I know even at work, we have people that will fall into their native tongue because they're talking to someone else. The problem with that is no one else in the team understands them when they're listening. So we have to talk to them about, please always speak in English so that both you get better at it, but also other people in the office can understand you as well. It is really fundamental. Any IT work experience that you have, if you volunteered to do IT work experience somewhere, if you've had a short-term job, if you've had a part-time job, if you've had a casual job, if you've been part of a program here at CDU, and I know that there are a number of programs placing people into roles here around CDU, vacation opportunities with NTG, with InterSystems. There are a number of programs that give you experience with IT. And this is a key differentiator. Majority of students have very little to no experience in IT work. So any students that do have a differentiator. And when people complete interviews and when they complete selection processes in industry, they'll look at that you're a student. Now, what that will tell them is that you are probably a lifelong learner. That's good, but you're all lifelong learners then. So you all have that in common. So it's a common denominator, okay? Then they won't necessarily even look at what marks you got. They'll probably look at where you were, did you get good, some good marks, but they're not going to go through all your units to look at your marks. That's not so important to them, okay? But when they look through all of the resumes that we get for jobs, this is what they always look for. They always look for what people have said about the experiences they've had. And if it's been in Australia, that is a highlight. If it's overseas, you definitely need to put it in there. But anything you've done in Australia trumps anything you've done overseas. Okay. Now, again, and I say this every year. The things I say here might not sound fair. You should, like it's not fair that what you did overseas, it doesn't count as much as what you do in Australia. Okay. But what I'm trying to tell you is the reality of what you face. Okay. There is always bias. Subconscious, conscious, all of these type of biases occur, all right? If you want to get a job, you have to deal with those biases and understand them. And this is exactly that. Anything you do in Australia is significantly better than anything you've done anywhere else. But that's not to say that anything you've done anywhere else doesn't count. It is just trumped by work in Australia. Because also your references here in Australia count for more than references overseas as well, all right? So it's definitely, and this is the same with proven track record of teamwork. Anything you've done where you've had work experience, opportunities, or short-term work or anything like that means you're working in a team. You're already working in a team. Anything you've done at university where you've done a team assignment, that's important, or a team project. And the reason that these things are important is because when an employer is interviewing you, what they're looking for is they're thinking a bit about what they need to think. What they need to think for you to be successful is they need to think about you in their workplace. So they're imagining, how would you fit in? You know, are you the type of person that's going to come in and fit within the workplace, get along with everyone, be able to, you know, complete work as part of a team, you know, contribute to the team dynamics, all of these type of things. So if you've worked well as part of a team doing a uni project, and you can demonstrate and talk about the aspects of the project that you did, but not, oh, it was me, it was me working with others, you know, we contributed and did this, but my part was this type of thing, you know, or demonstrated that you worked in another IT role, you know, that shows that you're able to work as part of a team. So that makes that transition to them thinking of you in their office a lot easier, okay? Problem solving and troubleshooting techniques and ability. Got the ING on troubleshooting there, so I made one mistake already. Every interview you do will involve questions around troubleshooting, okay? Because it's IT. And a lot of the roles that you will go for will involve troubleshooting, okay? Because a lot of them will be entry-level roles. So you've got to think about making sure that you understand both you have techniques that you follow. How would you diagnose an issue with a device, for instance? You know, so what are the steps you would do? What are the questions you would ask? How would you deal with a customer that's dealing with an issue? Because remember, most interactions with a customer in IT, unless you're building something, most interactions, they've got an issue. You're part of the solution. So how are you part of that solution? What are the steps? What are you going to ask them, for instance? What are the tools you're going to use? How might you escalate something? I can guarantee you on 90% of all interviews you do, a question like this will come up. So you've got to both have the technique, but you've also got to have, because what you might get into is in an interview or role play type situation where they'll ask a question, how do you do this? And then you might respond and they say, okay, well, this has happened, or what do you do next? You haven't been able to solve it, for instance. What's your next steps? So what they're looking from you is that you've got a technique and you've actually got the capability to think through the steps, okay? Because anyone can read a book and get a technique, but then it's putting that technique into practice, all right? So if you're doing TED, you know, when I said before, do some prep interview questions with someone else, these type of things, you know, is exactly what you should. You know, have a mock question ready where you've got a situation where you've got a customer, they've got a presentation that they're about to do in front of 100 people, and their laptop suddenly won't work, it doesn't work. What are the steps that you follow? Because obviously it's quite a significant situation. Think about as well with these type of questions is, what are the workarounds? You know, you might not be able to fix that laptop, but do you have other solutions? Always think about that. Escalations, sources of information, Google, all of these type of things. Make sure you can think through this question. Show interest. It goes without saying, right? It should go without saying. But even myself, and I've done many interviews over a long period of time, too long a period of time sometimes, but the number of people that you will interview that you wonder at times, why are you here? You don't seem to show any interest. You're not really engaged. You haven't done any prep work, for instance. It is, you know, astounding at times. You know, and then you speak to people, and I know there are a number of people in the room I speak to quite often because we meet at a number of events who show that, you know, they're very interested, they're engaged, they want a role, you know, they want an opportunity, they want that. And you can feel that, and that's what you want to feel. You want to feel that someone is both interested in the role, interested in getting a job, but interested in your role in your company. So if you go to an interview, for instance, and you know nothing about the company, all right, file one. okay? Because how are you going to show interest? You don't know anything about them. So do some research. You don't need to go into an interview and say, I've read everything about you on the internet and this is all the things you do. They know what they do, okay? But there are always questions that come up that allow you to demonstrate your knowledge of a company without sitting there and telling them about how you did all this research and check them all out on LinkedIn and things like that. So if you know about the company, you will be able to answer their questions better. You'll be able to find the things in your experiences or in your studies that better relate to them as a company. And so you will promote them. You as a person is one person, right? But if you do two different interviews, and on Friday you'll do, I think, at least 20 interviews, you might do 20 different interviews in how you answer the questions based on what you know about the company. So answering the same questions to one company as another company might not be as successful. So for instance, if you are being interviewed by a managed service provider, like NEC, for instance, our focus is obviously on support, service of support, okay? Infrastructure, systems, all of that type of thing. But then if you get interviewed by a software developer, and there are a number of them in the room on Friday, what are their focuses on? They're focused on your development, your developer skills. You know, they're focused on you being potentially part of the team that's building the program. So understand everyone that is on those interview panels on Friday and understand who you're going for in the future with jobs so that you can show interest, not just rock up and look like you just should get that job. It's also how you dress, okay? How you dress demonstrates your interest in getting the job or not. Now, I've seen someone rock up for an interview in thongs, okay? Now, it's darling. I wear slides and thongs on the weekend, or if I'm going for some drinks or dinner with my wife. Occasionally that's okay. Occasionally she tells me not that I need to dress up a little bit, all of those kind of things. But I'm not going for a job. If you turn up for a job an interview with thongs on, you're not getting that job, right? Unless you are the best thing since sliced bread. And even then, I think people won't look past the fact that you turned up in thongs. But even within the last year, I've seen people turn up in thongs. And I've walked past those interviews and looked and then had words with the people that were doing the interview and they all said the same, that person's not getting the job, they really weren't interested, So how you come into the interview is exactly, the first impression is everything, right? Thongs, he's not interested or she's not interested in this job, okay? Connections. There's two parts about connections. You need to build connections. You need to build a network. You need people to know who you are. You need to, and it's Darwin and connections. Like we talk about 6 degrees of separation. This is Darwin. There's 2 degrees of separation. Okay, so it's really important to build connections in the industry, within the school, with your lecturers. Have your lecturers think about you. And I'm sure I saw Cherry come in the room a little before, maybe I missed it. How your lecturers think about you will help determine your outcomes when you go to interviews. Because often if I've got a number of students that I've applied for a role, I will sometimes informally ask questions to those lecturers. I talk to all the lecturers quite regularly for the many engagements I have here at CDU. So I'll always be asking them about people. So you have to build this network of connections across your career, okay? And it's like what we talked about before with the sprint and the marathon. I have people that I still work with that, and are very important to my work and what I do, that I met and built connections with over 30 years ago in completely different industries, in completely different roles when we were young people, young men. And 30 years later, I still have that connection. If I considered it a sprint, then I might go, well, he's useful to me now, but now he's not useful to me. No, you've got to continue to build upon these connections and work them and relationships. And you've got to think about it like a bank. You've got to make deposits. And you've got to keep making deposits and building relationships. And this probably you could also take this to any relationship, right? But think about it like a bank. keep building deposits through doing good things or just being connected or speaking to someone or acting in the right way, because at some point you might need a withdrawal, and that withdrawal might be a hand, it might be you've made a mistake and things like that. So, deposits, withdrawals, more deposits, less withdrawals. But with your connections, you have to think about this when you're going for jobs, when you're going for your career, you're always being interviewed. So when you talk to me, for instance, and you talk at anything, and anyone I talk to, there's always an element of you're potentially being considered for a job. And you have to think about that. All the people that you'll meet at Code Fair that are doing the speed dating or already employed, when they're talking to you, really, if they're good at that job, they should be assessing you, okay? Because you're a potential employee, and everyone needs good people, right? It's fundamental to be successful in business, to be successful in government, just to be successful. You need a team of good people. The more good people you get, the better your outcomes are going to be. So I'm always talking to people, always thinking about them as a potential employee. Okay, if I see something, I'll follow up on it later on. I'll mark it down and I'll think about it. And so you need to think the same thing about everything you're doing. When you're walking down the street in Darwin and you're walking past people, sometimes they're the people that you may be interviewed by in the future. I've heard stories, I've known people that had someone that was rude to them right before they then rocked up to their workplace to do an interview. Now, do you think that person got a job? No, because you haven't made a deposit before you've even started a relationship with someone. You've made a withdrawal, and so that's how that person's going to think about you. And again, it might not be fair, but it's the reality of the world that we live in. That's how people act. Human nature hasn't changed. As much as we'd like to think that we live in a utopia of perfection and everyone behaves in the right way. Okay. So you have to make sure that you're always looking at those connections. Now, I'll put on the screen in-demand jobs in IT. Now, cybersecurity is right up there. It is without doubt up there. And on the other side, artificial intelligence, anything you're doing with artificial intelligence, right? Now, I know many of you are studying cybersecurity. I know project management, business analysis are all parts of the curriculum and developers as well. All very, very important. If you're studying to be a software programmer here in the Northern Territory and you're not studying .NET, you're doing yourself a disservice. Okay? So the Northern Territory government basically uses .NET to program the majority of their small to medium-sized systems. So if you're studying and you're not focusing on .NET, start studying .NET right now. Okay? It is fundamental to your studies if you want to be a programmer or a developer, okay? And you want to live here in the Northern Territory. Literally, the Northern Territory government pushed some years ago for CDU to include .NET as part of the studies, okay? And every year, I chair the industry engagement and advisory group, the CDU. And every year the Northern Territory government asks how the .NET studies is going. It's literally a standing agenda item on our agenda for every meeting to discuss it. If you're not studying it, I don't think you're going to get a job with Northern Territory government to being a programmer. And they're the largest employer of all programmers, okay? All of these other things, these are all important roles. But the most important thing for today that I put these here is these are not entry-level roles. So when people say to you, and you'll read it everywhere, and I'm also the chair of the Australian Computer Society in the Northern Territory, and the ACS highlights every year the growing demand for jobs in the IT industry, and that's true. But the most competitive point of the IT industry is at the entry point, okay? And this is fundamental to what you need to be thinking about right now. This is not a gravy train. There is no easy entry into IT, okay? There might be hundreds of jobs available in the IT industry, and there are jobs vacant right now, I can tell you, but they are not the entry-level roles. They're these type of roles.
And this is when we talked before about your first job is not your last job. These are the roles that you may want to do in the future. Okay? But unless you are uniquely talented, and I mean uniquely talented, or unless you snag one of the very few permanent graduate roles that are available in the Northern Territory, you will not go near one of these jobs in the first instance. Okay? So the majority, I look at the room here, and you all might be very talented and very good, and I'm sure there are many people here that are, but you are unlikely to start into any of these roles. And so again, this is a reality of where you need to be thinking and setting your goals for this future. You know, where are you starting? If you're thinking you're coming into being the next Euron that you'll meet tomorrow if you're doing the cybersecurity challenge, yeah, no, he's done a degree, he's worked, he's studied for 10 years cybersecurity outside of his degree to be where he is, right? He would be probably the pinnacle cybersecurity person here in the Northern Territory, probably one of very few in Australia, Asia as well. But that role took him probably 15, 18 years, 20 years maybe to get to. So you've got to think, this is where I want to be, not where I'm starting though. Okay, the next slide. So how to approach your first role, right? Excellent roles. First one is expect any entry level role for the majority of students. That's what you need to be thinking. You've got to get any role in IT, okay? Doesn't matter what it is. If it's an IT role for an IT company, or even if it's just an IT company role doing something with IT, take that role. If you are offered that role, take that role. If you're applying for it, go for everything. Service desk. Nothing wrong with service desk. I did service desk. Look where I am now. You know, level 2 service desk, field services. These are the most common and they have the highest number of available roles in the Northern Territory. Okay? You know, they are very good. If you are applying one's available, you should be applying for those roles. Okay? But then there's also compliance. You know, if you have a desire to become a project manager in the future, or a business analyst, there are compliance roles as well. They're not directly IT, but they're for IT companies. Now, interestingly, we advertised a couple of compliance roles, might have been within the last year, might have just been late last year. And I sent it off to CDU and I asked Jerry and others, send this out to all the students. This is a perfect starting job for any student. So we had students apply. 2 students, in the interviews for the role, they applied for the role. Then in the interviews, they said, oh, this is not a cybersecurity role? No, I don't want it. And it's not a joke. No. And there's 2 of them said, because it's not a cybersecurity role, I don't want the role. But then the interviewers told me about this later on. And the 2 students that had said that were also highly regarded by lecturers. So they were ones that I had marked for the interviewers to keep a close eye on during the interviews to report back to me and let me know how they went. Because it's an entry-level role that we build people from for the next steps. And we've got all these cybersecurity opportunities in the future that we train people for. And so they marked themselves out in an interview, you know, just because it wasn't the final role, but it would have been a stepping stone for them to have many of the things that I talked about on the first slide about differentiating yourself. Please don't ever do that if you ever interview. Entry-level roles are highly competitive. They're the most competitive roles at the moment. And it's, check my timing. Ooh. And you really need to be focused on just getting one of those roles when they become available. And in the Northern Territory, with 650 students now studying IT, it's getting even more competitive, okay? I don't want anyone in here to think that you're going to come out of uni and it's going to be easy. If you think that, just take a step, have a chat with yourself and face the reality of what you are looking at. It is going to be tough to get into the IT industry. But once you're in, it's not so tough. Companies invest in their people. And this is the key. You want one of those final roles? Get into a job. That company will then invest in you and develop you to move you forward. Because what they want is they want good people who have potential. And then with good people with potential, they invest, they train, they give you work opportunities where you go and see what other people are doing. They do presentations, you know, they have open systems that allow you to do any type of training at all. For instance, NEC has access to the Precipio system, which has every single type of training you could possibly do. We get vendor training credits. We have vendors come up and do info sessions with people. All of these things once you're in. So you've got to get in, then you get that opportunity to move up. So that's how you see your career going. And that's how you should approach your first job, that it's the first step for the future. Potential is critical. You know, being able to demonstrate potential to someone. Your employer wants to feel that you're part of that investment. So if you go into an interview and you say, look, I'm an international student, I'm just finished my studies, I'm here in Darwin for the next 2 years, then I'm thinking about going down to Sydney. Right, yeah, not so great. Because companies do move people, right? And jobs do come up within companies to move elsewhere. But the people that are interviewing you are thinking about you for here. You know, you might think that's small-minded, they need to think about the bigger picture of the company, but their issue is here, delivering services here, okay? Not delivering services in Canberra or Melbourne or anywhere else like that. So they want to hire people that are going to be here for the long term, that are making a commitment to the company. So as the company invests in you, they're getting a return on an investment. Anything that we do as a company for people takes at least 2 years to get a return on. Okay, so I might train you for 2 years. That's when you become valuable after those 2 years. If I think you're leaving, I'm probably going to go to the next applicant, okay? So, you know, they want to know that you're part of that investment, because that also means they want to know that as we're training you, you're going to co-invest in that training. You're going to learn, because you don't all learn in the classroom. It's about studying afterwards and checking things. When I was young and getting into IT, I was in the service desk. I used to get put on was Windows training, management training for servers and things like that. At home, I had 4 different machines with all the lids off. I had servers built up. I had mail going left and right at home and all of these things, because I was learning all of how to do this, you know, in my own time. I had a whole room that was pretty much dedicated to this type of thing. My wife hated me for it. But, you know, that's how you're successful. You're investing in yourself as your company is investing in you. And again, continue to build networks. It's so important always to be building networks to support, to provide opportunities, because someone working somewhere else may get into a leadership role and then they're thinking about you. Oh, I need someone for that, but I know someone that does that. I'll go and talk to that person. And that's when you get the informal headhunting that's occurring. You know, people are looking for you to come and work with them because they know you've got those skills. And that's what that building that network will always provide for you. I think the next slide. Yeah. There's one thing with that as well. And I looked at all of the resumes, quickly scanned through all the resumes that came through for the speed dating and the other day. And I thought either all of these people have never come to anything that I've spoken at before, or they haven't listened. Because I reckon there was only a very small handful of people that had their photos on their resume. And I know there are many things that say you should not have to put your photo on a resume. You know, your employer shouldn't need to see who you are because they shouldn't be making decisions on sex, looks, or anything like that. But it's Darwin, right? And the majority of people interviewing you are probably part, back to the other slide quickly, are probably part of that network that you've created, but probably don't know your name. Now, I've probably met the majority of students in this room at various other events where I've spoken at, but I can tell you now, and I make no apology for it, I'm terrible with names. I can remember a handful of people's names, and that's probably after I was connected with them about 3, 4, 5 times. But I'm very good with faces, and so are the majority of people. They're very good with faces. If you've made a good connection with someone and they remember something about you, the work you might have done previously, you might have spoken about it, how you used to do some certain things, you might have shown a spark during a discussion with someone and they go, well, that person looks like they have potential. When they see a resume, the name might not necessarily mean anything to it, but the photo on the resume will immediately, in their mind, connect you with them. Okay, they'll remember you, and you have to put your photos on resumes. Okay, please, our other advice is very true. They shouldn't be making decisions on sex, race, anything like that. Okay, but that's not what this is about. This is about an opportunity for you where you've connected with people. Put your photo there so they can connect back with you when the time comes for interviews. Because often people will not even get through to the interview process. I can tell you now that people that have connected with myself and other people in the industry do make it through to the interview process just because of those connections and putting a photo down on the resume. So, you know, my career, your career, my examples, hard work is essential, right? There's no two ways about it. You want to be successful, you've got to work hard. You've got to work hard at uni, you've got to have your lecturers thinking well about you, you've got to get good marks, all of those side of things. It's the same in the workplace. The harder you work, the better the outcomes, because you'll be identified as someone with potential. When you volunteer for code fair, for anything, the harder you work in that volunteer role, again, will provide good references for you. People will think well of you. The harder you work at building up your skills and knowledge of various systems or vendors, or .NET or Cisco, if you want to get into networking, you know, the better outcomes. Okay, you can't get away from hard work. Relationships, networks, I've spoken about that. The benefit of networking with myself or other leaders, the benefits that I've had during my career as well. But luck comes into all of our careers. And sometimes it's just that moment that you get one advantage that no one else gets at that stage. Take that advantage, any advantage you have, any offer for something that's going to provide you an opportunity. Take it every time. I'm probably going to go over, so I apologise. I used to be a student here. I was working as at the motor vehicle registry, and I was a permits clerk at that time, where I was on the front desk at the motor vehicle registry when I first started. So again, entry point job into the Northern Territory government, nothing too special, anything like that. But I wanted more. I didn't want to be working at motor vehicle registry for the rest of my life. I wanted to be in leadership and business. So I started a degree, and the first part of the degree I was doing was management. It was public sector management. There used to be a degree here in Northern Territory, probably still is, called public sector management. Very boring. And then partway through, and I've always been interested in IT. Partway through, I went, I need to change. I need to do something different. This isn't quite what I want to do. And so I thought there was a degree that came up, it was called computer systems management. And it was a cross between a business degree and an IT degree. And I thought, well, I can do that. So I did one unit of IT. It was my first unit. I did the exam, and I'd gone for a part-time role with the Northern Territory government, working on their old records management system. This was in the early 90s or mid-90s. And I finished my exam, and just coincidentally, my interview was the following week. I went into the interview, and you know, I didn't really know what the role was. I knew as much as I could find out, which wasn't a lot because I had no connections into the department at the time. But I walked into that interview, and every single question in the interview could have been lifted from the exam that I had studied hard for the week before, and in my mind, I aced that exam. And it was like literally they were asking me questions straight from the exam. And so I was fully prepared. It was a piece of luck. Okay? But I took it because I'd been working hard. Before that, I built reasonably good relationships within the Northern Territory government, so I had good references from my workplace. But if I hadn't have done that unit, exactly when I did that unit, and if that unit hadn't focused on what it focused on, there was no way I would have been prepared for that interview, but I was. I did so well in that interview that I was successful in the role, which was my very first role in IT, and I've obviously been very successful since then. But I was so successful, they actually had someone lined up to do the role. They were just going through the interview process because they had to, right? They already had someone that they wanted to give the job to, but they couldn't because I aced the interview. Okay, so hard work, luck. That's where the luck component comes in. The other part is reputation. In a marathon, your reputation will stay with you forever, particularly here in the Northern Territory. You have to protect your reputation because that's how people think about you at all times. So always focus on doing the right thing, working hard, working within teams. Don't be the troublemaker. It doesn't mean you have to be quiet, but be respectful in everything. If you raise an issue, be respectful, okay? Protect your reputation, build a strong reputation because that will last you your entire career. But a few bad moments can bring it all down, and that's how you have to think about it, okay? It's the only thing, if there's one thing you have to protect other than your family and yourself, is your reputation, okay? And always work out what's important, for a job interview, for work, for your future. Focus on that. Don't try and focus on 20 or 30 different things. Focus on what's important, okay? So with Friday's speed dating, what's important as you go in? What is important is how are you going to differentiate yourself in all of those interviews you've got on Friday? That's what's important for you to prepare for Friday, okay? All right. Now, I think if we've got time for questions, I don't know if we do or not. Do we have time for questions?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take questions.
Consider ourselves as connections, fellow students.
Yes. And students are connections. And again, this is where it comes into, it's not what the importance of someone can do for you now, it's what might come later. So student body here, many of you may hopefully work together in the Northern Territory IT industry for many, many years. So think about this as your starting point for connections that you may need in 20 years' time. In 10 or 15, you might be in decision-making roles. You might be supporting each other in projects. You might be building a solution. You might be competing to win a bid, all of these type of things. So yes, 100%. At the moment, though, the value of those connections you might not see or know, but they might be there later on. So you must build those connections. Don't burn bridges. It's very important. Question, any others?
I don't have any IT work experience. What can I do to substitute that in my CV and my interviews?
Now you're a volunteer for CodeTech.
Yeah.
There's one. So you've volunteered for CodeTech, so you have given some of your time for an event, an activity. So that would be one because you've worked in a team, you've had outcomes, you've got a referee for your work because that is volunteer work. So think about that. That's one. And then are there other opportunities to volunteer? Are there other opportunities to get some type of work experience? Now, again, you've got everyone else here that will also be looking at doing the same things. It's not easy. It's really not easy, which is why, again, luck and connections are often the things that help determine people's those early outcomes.
What I mean is, I have work experience. I have experience working in teams. But as you mentioned that we should be able to show some IT experience. People with IT experience on their CVs will get more preference.
Yeah, you look at it from the perspective of direct IT work experience is up there, right up there, top. Like I can't even reach high enough, and I'm pretty tall, right? But then if you've worked in an office, like if you've worked in a government, if you've worked in any role, that's got to be up there as well, because that shows that you know how offices work. Because many of you are just been students, and probably when I was going to uni and I was working at the time, so I already had a job and things like that. But there are many domestic students that have done year 12, gone straight to university, never worked. School and university are not like workplaces. They are fundamentally different. And so, again, if you've had any type of job with long experience or with work experience, it demonstrates that you know how to work in a workplace, what the expectations are, turning up on time, dressing appropriately, doing the work that's required, listening to your leaders, all of that type of thing. So again, that's up there. It's not like this. If working in IT experience is right up here, but working in any role is here. So you've got to make the best with what you have, right? And then if you're a good talker, if you can talk and present and project confidence and potential, that's a key differentiator. So don't just look at it from experience, right? There are other differentiators. The ability to communicate well. Does everyone know Digita? Yeah, many people know Digita. What is Digita very good at? Speaking confidently, projecting confidence. She gets noticed. I noticed her. She's got a job. You know why she's got a job? Because I noticed her in the first instance and gave her an opportunity. Okay? So speaking confidently, projecting is another way of differentiating yourself, particularly in interviews. Now, I can tell you, in many interviews, there are many people that will interview you that really aren't very good at interviews. Okay? It's a skill to be able to gauge and assess people and work out who is the best person out of the group. But it's one of those things, the flashy car will often be the one that people gravitate towards. And so if you are really good at communicating and coming across as a confident person, that's another differentiator. You don't even have to talk about it. You just demonstrate it in an interview. And in the interviews you have on Friday, where you've probably got about, I think, 2 minutes, we go now, or a minute and a half, when you're talking to someone, the first thing they're going to notice is how confident you are, how well spoken you are. Before you even talk about anything else, they probably won't even hear half the things you talk about because they've listened to about 30 other students in about an hour and a half. But the thing that they will remember, confidence, potential, how someone projects, that's a key differentiator. So there's many others there as well. You just have to find it. Absolutely outstanding work that was referenced as well as something. Trevor, sorry? Yes, Trevor Pinto, at Code Fair. He won Code Fair a few years ago and he was the most outstanding entrant, went on the Digital Excellence Awards. Who voted? Do you know who voted and determined the most outstanding entrant? That was me in my role. And I'll do it again on Friday. I don't take any bribes. But from that, Trevor did research papers that were being, cited by others, So again, Trevor had an opportunity provided by what he demonstrated at Code Fair as a differentiator for him. I noticed he got an opportunity, he's doing well, he'll get further opportunities. So these are all the different types of things that can differentiate you. Any other questions?
Basic entry level.
Right. So when you look at our CVs, what do you expect us to have in it that will make us stand out from everyone else? Based on our skills or reference or anything?
Yeah. And if you had any IT experience work or any volunteer work, that will help. Okay. It is very, very hard if all you've done is study. Even if you are one of the top 5% of students in here, when people read your resume, it's very hard to then go through and work out, based on that person, just the study they're doing, move them forward. There's got to be other things. Work experience is key. Volunteering in IT roles, volunteering in Code Fair or other things, they will also stand out. It's really hard because many people that interview you and determine and even do selection panels, because we might get 30 people apply, 5, 6 people get interviewed, right? Many of those people never went to uni. So they don't understand university, they don't understand marking ratings, they don't understand all of those type of things. They do understand work and outcomes and things like that. You've got to find the things that you've done that stand out. So you might have worked on a project within uni that had outstanding outcomes for whatever, it might be research, it might be produced a piece of work that was awarded an academic excellence for something by the dean or something like that. Find any of those things that differentiate you, okay, and give you a leg up, something that's going to notice, something that's going to tell someone that you're a hard worker or someone with significant potential, right? And then just hope to get in the interview, because then once you're in the interview, then all of those other soft skills that you have can come out, and the other things, you might have volunteered in other types of activities supporting, non-for-profit organisations and going and doing some work helping them with their IT or, all of those things. Soft skills, really, really important in IT. Underrated by many people and not understood fully how valuable they are in IT. You can be the most smartest IT person in the world, but if you don't interact well with customers, you're really not so great. I worked with a guy, his nickname was Space Ferret. This is in the 90s, and it's like, has anyone watched the IT Crowd, the TV show IT Crowd? And they're down in the basement, and the one guy that really can't talk to anyone. Yeah, he was exactly like that, but worse. And, I can remember we went to fix someone's problem, their issue with their device, and he was talking to me. The customer was standing there, and he was telling me what was wrong with their computer and what they weren't doing right. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not the one to be explaining this to you. And, so, your soft skills, like I've noticed you in this, as I've been talking, you've looked interested, you've looked engaged, very, very important in an interview. You've got to listen to people when they're talking. So if you're in an interview, it's not just about you, it's what they're saying. So if you look interested and look engaged, they're probably going to think, well, that person's going to be good in the job. That's one of the things, but you've got to get to the interview to then use those skills. I might go, oh, was that a hand up? Yeah, I'll go Hinchets. Sorry. It's a hard question because it would depend on when you say, because it's in demand, we might only have a couple of roles that are available, but we just can't find those people. Like, so if I talk now, good cybersecurity people, good network engineers are in high demand, but we don't have many roles. But we have very few people within the pool to recruit from, because people aren't necessarily coming off the East Coast into the Northern Territory. So if you ask me, what's the hardest thing for you to recruit to at the moment, I'll be going like network engineers, good server engineers. But I might only have 2 or 3 roles available, but I've probably had them available for some time. When you talk about the other roles, and there are others, so project managers, business analysts, IT project managers and IT business analysts, absolutely in demand at the moment, right? There are roles always coming up for those. .NET programmers, but on the basis of the total number of roles and the vacancies that regularly come up, field services, service desk, level 2 service desk, these are the type of roles that are more common to be found regularly as available, okay, and that you should be targeting. Obviously, those other roles I've talked about, we're looking for people with years and years of experience. And that's when people talk about the skills shortages in Australia, right? I don't think it's a people shortage, it's a true skills shortage. We've got lots and lots of roles at this top level. We don't have enough people that meet the criteria for those roles. We have lots of cybersecurity roles, we have lots of network engineers roles and architect roles, but it takes years and years of training and experience to get to those roles. That's where the skill shortages is. We get more than enough applicants at the base level for those roles. Have I got enough time for another question, or should I wrap it? Fine. All right. I'm sorry. Look, thank you, everyone. Good luck on Friday. You'll see me around on Friday. You'll see other people from other industries around. Please, I hope you've taken something from today, because this isn't just about Friday. This is about your career, your first job, and then your future, okay? And I wish you all the best for it. And congratulations on your studies at the university.
Thank you, Damon, for your great speech. One last question. Are you guys hungry? So now we'll have a lunch break and research competition will start at 1 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Before we have lunch, everyone please come to the page. We'll have a photo together. One group photo with Mr. Damian Charles.
More on the left. Will you guys squeeze in a little bit?
Yeah. That's one.
Big smiles, everyone. 1, 2, 3, say cheese.
Cheese.
One more.
But I think okay.
Oh, yeah. You know,
Richie, the needle, please.
yeah.
1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Hang on. Can you actually say actually go fair?
Yeah.
Thumbs up,
Yeah.
thumbs up. Kofi.
ID code.
No, please. Yep. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But they will be able to. That is not.
Okay, otherwise, no focusing the notes. And that we can.